Hello, and thank you for joining our podcast. My name is Keith Wright. I'm the Managing Director of Wright Consultancy. I'm delighted to be joined by Humperdinck Jackman from ESG PRO. We're going to be talking for about the next 20 to 30 minutes about ESG, sustainability, and the supply chain and how this is impacting construction, supply chain, and the future of our industry. Humperdinck, thank you for joining. Do you want to give a very quick intro on who you are and what ESG PRO is all about?
Well, thank you, Keith. Yes, very pleased to be here today. ESG PRO is one of the fastest growing firms across Europe in sustainability. We serve clients from Hong Kong to the United States, including some advising to governments. My name is Humperdinck Jackman, and I'm looking forward to exploring ESG sustainability in the supply chain. Where do you want to start, Keith?
No, that's great. So I've been in this industry, building industry, for about 30 years, and I think it's safe to say the last 2 years, probably in particular, I would say have been the most challenging in terms of product availability and pressures on the supply chain. So some of the observations I've seen during that period have really included probably a bit of complexity going into the supply chains of, particularly distributors and builders merchants, and really the driver for that has been about availability. We've clearly had, we've had the pandemic, we've had Brexit, we've got the Ukraine-Russia conflict ongoing, and that's caused a lot of pressure on supply chains. But for me, by default, that's added complexity, which I think means potentially a bit more work to do in the ESG space. How do you think those challenges have affected and shifted maybe the foundations of businesses during that period?
Well, as far as I see it, Keith, the issues you mentioned, they're affecting energy prices. There's obviously this very big shift onto electric vehicles and also energy rationing. Goodness knows what we're facing this winter. But all of this is making the supply chain even more acutely aware of corporate responsibility towards the climate, towards good governance, best practice, looking after people in a very, very risk-averse industry. But the shift we've seen has been dramatic. This time last year, we would hear from CEOs and managing directors across the entire spectrum of the construction industry that they were seeing weightings of 10% for ESG performance. In January and February of this year, there was a market shift, and the message was consistently 10 to 20% ESG ratings. So you've got the ability to supply, you've got the all of the credentials, you've got the right pricing. But still, 20% of your RFP success hinges on ESG, and that's a huge threat to any business, considering the amount of time, money, and effort invested in that RFP.
So are you saying in that space, that you can have the right price, the right product, the right supply chain, but if your ESG credentials are not at the level that a customer requires, you could actually not even qualify to be involved in that, in that supply?
We're seeing it repeatedly. One client has been a major supplier to a very significant housing association down in the southeast. 5 years under a contract, and the housing association, for their own corporate governance, reissued a tender. It was a no-brainer. The incumbent supplier was going to win the award. Fantastic service. I know the business very well. A quiet word was had afterwards, and they said, look, we couldn't give you the business. You had nothing in place on ESG. And that was what is now one of our clients, second largest customers. That was in June of this year. In August, it happened again.
Wow. But so my perception, I've been in big business for a long time prior to, setting up my own consultancy work. And my perception of ESG was this was all for PLCs, wasn't it? This was, shareholders and non-execs asking all those difficult questions. So are you suggesting it's not actually just for big business, that ESG, is a very important topic, regardless of the size of business that you actually are?
Absolutely. This whole thing started in 2005 at the United Nations. Kofi Annan introduced the concept of ESG as a thought process when making investments. Before you invest in a corporation, what's it doing? What's its impact on the environment, on people, society? And it was to guide hedge funds and venture capitalists, that sort of business. Over the years in the United States, ESG became an investment tool for even the small investor, the domestic investor. And then, not so many years ago, the Europeans started to look at it. And the shift changed. ESG is not only about your business, your honesty, integrity, and transparency, but it's about the impact you have on society and everything within that, and also, critically, the impact society has upon your business. The threats which regulatory change or climate change or societal opinions have, which could force you to take a different approach to how you deliver a project. And that's a fundamental shift. It's not about investing anymore. It's about this quantified yardstick, authenticated, evidenced, verified data, which says, statement of fact, this is the nature of our organization today. It's what we do right. It's what we don't do quite so well, and how we are going to improve. That's ESG.